Southern. I lied. Southern.
Undergrad was Alberta's.
Oh, thank you for correcting me. Some of us have so many degrees that their friends can't keep track of it. Okay. And Jillian is a medical educator and standardized patient, which I had never heard of before. Look it up, or she'll talk about it. It's really interesting, I think. At Yale and Quinnipiac Universities, and she's in private practice as a licensed therapist, educator, and advocate for the transgender, gender-expansive community. She's organized support groups for transgender, gender-diverse children, young adults, and adults, and she's a board member at the Agency on Aging of South Central Connecticut. She's co-authored 2 published transgender studies at Yale and is the author of the book, Transitioning Later in Life, A Personal Guide. So please join me in welcoming Jillian Celentano.
All right, I'm going to use it this way. I can't sit still, so I'm going to hold the mic and everything. Well, good afternoon. No, good morning, almost good afternoon, everyone. I'm really, really excited to be back here. It's been a while, and oh my gosh, a lot has happened in the last 6 years. But today I hope to basically, I'm just going to throw a lot of stuff at you, at least give you an idea about what's going on with the trans community, the myths, the reality, the myths, because there's a lot of misinformation out there. And I hope to hopefully clarify it, maybe give you a different view on what it is like for the transgender population. So with that being said, usually I have a screen in front of me, so I'm going to be turning back because I'm going to be looking at some of my slides. Hopefully I'm in nobody's way. Everyone can see them? We're good? Okay. Cool. All right, so first of all, March 31st is the Transgender Day of Visibility. This is a day that we kind of celebrate our accomplishments, what the trans community has done, and it's just kind of we try to break and have a feel-good day. So if you could look it up, they usually have little ceremonies going on all over in pride centers and things like that in certain churches and stuff, so you can definitely look that up. Today, I'm using transgender as an umbrella term, and I want to include any gender diverse folks, non-binary, gender queer, however someone identifies. Just for the sake of not saying all those words every time I say transgender, we're going to include it under everybody, under the umbrella. So I thought I would start out with, these are just a few headlines in the last few weeks. Texas Attorney General Paxton, now he wants to declare therapists, and I am a therapist, affirming trans youth to be illegal in child abuse. Then we had Vanderbilt to drop major gender-affirming surgeries for trans adults, so they're going after adults. Kansas City, you'd have to turn in your driver's license now. So if I were a resident, if I was someone in Kansas City, I'd have to turn in my driver's license and then get it to say male on my license instead of female. It's absolutely ridiculous. And then Supreme Court is even now taking sides, a lot of anti-transgender laws. They're making people out kids, and it's getting really, really scary. So this is kind of what I wake up to every day, and I try to avoid a lot of social media. All right, to get into it, this is not new. Trans folks have been around since keeping records. I mean, it goes all the way far back as Greek. There's records of it during medieval ages. There's records of it during Civil War. I mean, this is something that has been around forever. This is not new. Even our indigenous folks, they would call themselves two-spirited. So basically, it's what we say transgender, they call two-spirited. Two-spirited, and actually, these folks who embraced both masculine and femininity were actually looked upon as healers and teachers, and they were high up in the community. And it just baffles me, like, how colonization came along, and they changed all that. They said, no, this is not right. So long before even we were here, two-spirited folks were living and happy and within the community. So I put this in here, so some general terminology. I just want to get you all a little bit, because words are very powerful, or words can really hurt. So I figured I would just bang out a few terms. Just, you never know, that you may need. First one is gender identity. So a gender identity is basically how you feel internally about your gender. You feel male, you feel female, you may feel both, you may feel neither. But how you feel is your gender identity. So it's really understand that. And one's gender identity can be different from their sex assigned at birth. So, even though I was assigned male at birth, I never considered myself to identify as a male. I always identified as female for as young as I can remember. Then you have the terms transgender, which means when your gender identity does not correspond with your gender assigned at birth, okay? It's like a disconnect. Cisgender, and this is becoming more popular, is when the opposite of transgender. It's when your gender identity does correspond with your gender assigned at birth. So you don't think about your gender, you're fine. A lot of times people are being referred to now as cisgender. And cis is a Latin pretext meaning on the same side as, so I believe that's where they came up with that word, cisgender. Transsexual, I'm sure most people heard of. This is an older term, and it means someone who's had medical interventions done, say, such as surgery or hormones. But honestly, this is an older term, and I probably would stay away from it. Again, I can't speak for all trans folks, but I know most trans folks do not like to refer themselves as a transsexual. Transvestite, this is an easy term. Just do not use this term. This is, again, an older term, and it's just meant with negative connotations. So stay away from, I would say, these two words. And unless you're going to a Rocky Horror Picture Show, I would stay away from that. I said that yesterday I spoke at Quinnipiac University to students, and half of them didn't even know what the Rocky Horror Picture Show was. Oh, I know, I was like, what's wrong with everybody? Don't you know Rocky? So anyway, it got off on the whole topic. So, clocking, a really important term. Clocking means easiest way to put it is when we are recognized. So not all of us pass perfectly. Sometimes you can tell. So when we are recognized, we refer to it as I've been clocked. And my poor friend Debbie catches the brunt of it when someone calls me he every once in a while. So it's like being clocked, and then it hurts. Being clocked really hurts. Your day is ruined most of the time because you kind of go down a rabbit hole of why do I bother? I'm trying so hard. I just want to be who I am. And then when you're clocked, it kind of resets the button, I guess you could call it. So if you hear someone say clocking, it doesn't mean to be punched. It means we have been recognized. And dead name is basically a term where it was a name assigned at birth. So, I've legally changed my name. So when we refer to our dead names, it usually means our original name. And then we have the famous outdated language, transgenders. We don't want to think of that as a noun, more like an adjective. So we want to say the transgender patient, not the transgenders or the transgender client, whatever. But we do not want to say the transgenders. And then the other one is transgendered. For some reason we love to put ED at the end of transgender. I even saw it in some textbooks when I was in college. So we're not past tense. So definitely do not use the word ED. I always use the examples of if you're gay, you're gayed. I never heard that. Lesbian, lesbianed, bisexual. And if you're straight, you're straightened. So, so why not? We won't use it there, so let's not use it with that word. Sex change, that's so 1990. really the best way to say that is either gender affirmation or just bottom surgery is fine. But sex change, it's just a word that is becoming outdated. So we definitely want to stay away from that. And words like transformation, changing, they're changing into a girl, becoming a boy, or they're transgendering. The only words you really need to know is that they have transitioned or they are transitioning. That's the only thing. We're not like turning into something else. Biological sex, this is like the most updated one. It's not horrible, because a lot of times people say, oh, their biological sex was male. As you heard, I said it a few minutes ago, more accurately, gender assigned at birth is better than biological sex. It's not wrong, but if you want to be cool and keep up with the language, I would probably say those words. Okay, now this is where I'm going to yell. No, I don't mean yell like meanly. So, sexuality and gender are different. Who you are attracted to does not represent your gender. So there are two different gender identity, and who you're attracted to is very, very different. So we hear LGBT, LGB, lesbian, gay, bisexual, only refers to who you're attracted to, where the T only refers to the gender you feel you are or the gender you identify. So it's really, really important to understand there is a huge difference, and they're not the same. I can tell you, when I told people I was trans, the first thing they always ask me is, oh, so you're gay? And I was like, oh, no, it's totally different. So anyway, then I really want to get you all messed up here and confuse you. So this little chart talks about gender identity. So it's how you feel. Your gender assigned at birth, so basically your private parts. Gender expression is how you present yourself to the world. How you dress, how you cut your hair, what clothes you wear, and just that's your gender expression. Not your gender identity, your gender expression. Then there's who you're attracted to, sexual orientation, and then romantic orientation. So there's all kinds of attractions and orientation, and I don't want to get you confused, so I made my little gingerbread men here. So, looking at this, I'll do the first one. So this is someone who was assigned female at birth, okay? They identify as male, and they are attracted to men. Does everybody kind of follow that, looking at the symbols? So, identifying as female, attracted to men, and assigned male at birth. So here's a little more complicated one. I was going to ask for volunteers. Unless someone's really brave, I can explain this one. Usually I have my bag of Skittles to give away, but I forgot my Skittles today. Does anybody want to try it? And don't be afraid, I won't yell. You sure? Okay. You're going to make me do all the work today. Okay. So on this one, this is someone who is assigned female at birth, okay? They identify as non-binary, so maybe they feel both genders or neither gender. And they're attracted to maybe trans folks or pretty much anybody. Am I really confusing you, or you're following a little bit? Okay. All right, then the last one, I'll go really quick. This one, forget, I know this was usually where I stump people. This is someone who was assigned male at birth, trying to figure out their identity. They don't know yet, and they're trying to figure out who they're attracted to. So remember that our life's a journey. We don't have it all figured out when we're young or when we're teenagers or maybe in our 20s or 30s or even in our 50s. It doesn't matter. It's always a journey, and it's always, we want to allow room and understanding for folks who just aren't within the confines of the conformity of the world wants them to be. So, gender journey. It's important to know a gender journey is very different from everybody's. They're not the same. A gender journey isn't a straight line. In other words, all right, I want to, I'm a trans woman, so I'm going to start living as a woman. Boom, that's it. I'll take my hormones, have my surgeries, boom, and I'm a woman. It really doesn't work like that. It's a very windy road. And I always say a gender journey is a journey, not a destination. We are constantly learning and changing and discovering. So it's important to understand that every gender journey is different. My gender journey began probably around the age of 5. When I first became aware of what, I'm coming on this side, what gender was, probably around 5 years old, I realized, like, I don't know, something's not right. Like, I don't feel like the other boys. I don't know. I was trying to figure it out. And then as I started getting older, I started to realize, I think I'm a girl. And when I told my parents this once, they kind of laughed at me and just thought I was being silly, and they're like, no, boys can't be girls, that's silly. And that's when I guess you could say my shame and embarrassment started. I felt really, really just like a weird kid now. There's something wrong with me. That's when I started saying to myself, there's something wrong with me. And as I got a little older, if you can get past those big ears, I look at this picture of me, and I see just really sad eyes and a fake smile. And I grew up as a young kiddo with all these feelings, and I had to hold them in. I had to pretend. I had to act like everybody wanted me to. And it's hard. It is difficult. And don't forget, back in the 60s and 70s, there was no social media. There was no gender clinics. There was no one to talk to. Transgender wasn't even a word back then. But so I thought I was the only one. And somehow I figured, well, let me just please everybody, and this hopefully will go away. But of course, it doesn't. It gets stronger. And as I become older, I go into my teens, go through the wrong puberty. When I started taking on all these male characteristics, it was devastating. Because by then I knew what my gender was, but I also knew what am I going to do about it. So that's when anxiety, depression, isolation really kicked in. To me, living every day was like surviving, how I was going to get to the next day or the each day. And it was difficult. Again, I didn't have anybody to turn to. Social media was just starting to come out a little bit. But I decided, go into survival mode. Again, just live your life the best way you can, please everybody, and act like guys act. So when I get into my early 20s, what do? You know what's going to cure this is getting married, you know? So, oh yeah, I know. I love your reaction. I got married, and I decided that was going to cure me. But of course it didn't. It only made things worse. I felt really more depressed and very withdrawn for the whole year I was married. So it lasted 1 year. And I didn't tell her then because I was too afraid or embarrassed, but I did tell her I just fell out of love with you, and I came up with all these excuses. And I really hurt her, and I was really mad at myself. Like, that's not me. I felt like I was a good person. But I felt it would hurt her more to tell her, so I didn't. We got divorced. So after that, I tried to compensate, and I tried to be as masculine and as male as possible. I opened up businesses, and I got all the sports cars, and I did so much dating, lots and lots of dating, all to compromise, just to put these feelings down inside. Then, what do I do many years later, around 2000? I get married again. But this time, I really thought I could make it work. Now, this marriage lasted 5 years, but for some reason, I was just trying to find a compromise, because I didn't want to be alone, but I found through all of this experience is that because, although I was married, if you don't love yourself or accept yourself, it's really difficult to love and accept someone else. And that's what I was learning at this point. So, long story short, I did divorce her, basically told her the same thing, and she was like beyond devastated. And I see the hurt that I brought upon her, and I was becoming to hate myself even more, because that's not who I was. I didn't like who I was becoming. So soon after my second divorce, I kind of sat down and really looked at my life. I thought to myself, first, I could never tell anybody this secret. And I realized that I could never love or just like people love me back. But I also realized the pain and the torment that I was feeling for 55 years, I was 55 at the time now, had finally become too much. I didn't like the option that I thought about. But I decided, I don't know if I can continue on with my life like this. So luckily, I was seeing a therapist at the time for my anxiety and depression, but I was even too afraid to tell her. I was afraid to tell my therapist. This is how nervous I was. But I decided I was going to tell her, because if I didn't, I feared the option. I'll never forget that day. I was so nervous. I told her that I had something to tell you, but it was really hard to say. And it probably took me most of the hour session to finally get the courage to say it. I finally took the deepest breath of my life, and for the first time in 55 years, I said the words, "I'm transgender," to another person. I remember the room was spinning, I was sweating, and I was while waiting for her response, and it seemed like an eternity. And I was afraid she was going to laugh at me or throw me out of her office, but of course she didn't. Instead, she looked at me, and the first thing she said to me was that everything is going to be okay. And then she told me that I deserved to be happy. I had never once in my life ever thought I deserved happiness. But to hear someone else say that was really, really eye-opening. Maybe she was right. So I said to her, okay. I was very, very cautious. What would we do next? So she referred me to a therapist who works with gender identity and support groups. And let me tell you, those support groups saved my life, because I realized I wasn't alone. There was a community out there. People were out there, have jobs, they were transgender, and they were happy. And when I saw a trans person who can be happy and successful in the world, it finally gave me my first, hope for my entire life. And I always say, one of the things I think that kept me going was that I wanted him to die, but I didn't want her to die. So I kind of think of it as, saving myself in a way. Anyway, I said to myself, I'm done acting. I'm done living like everybody wanted me to, and I'm going to be myself. And that's when my life began. My life began at 55, and I've been living more life in the last 10 years than I've had in my first 55 years. I came out. Holy cow, and I always say coming out is, oh no, we're doing good. All right, we froze up. Darn it. There it is. Terrifying. I don't know if anybody has come out or someone come out to you, but coming out was very, very, very terrifying. I had to come out, to my family, which I have a small family, and I do not have children. So coming out to family was scary. They were pretty accepting. some rough days, but overall, I've been very lucky with my family. My friends, came out to my friends, and that was okay in the beginning. Everybody's like, okay, yeah, we love you, we'll support you. But unfortunately, I lost a lot of my friends. And I'm talking like 30-year friendships. They just couldn't handle it, I guess. I mean, it's okay. I was upset for a while, but then I realized that in order for me to continue on being who I am, I needed to forgive them so I could move on with my life. And it's okay because I've made so many wonderful, wonderful friends over my years. And so that was the toughest part of my journey, but I kept going. And then as far as work goes, I was working at the Schubert Theater. So if you're going to come out anywhere, you come out at a theater, let me tell you. And needless to say, everyone was so supportive, and it was just so amazing to be around. It just made me realize how important support system is in your life. And I encourage people to build your support system regardless of, who you are or what you want to do. So. And then here I am today. I went back to school. It was like an awakening. I went back to school, finished my undergrad, and then I wanted to be a therapist because my therapist saved my life. So it was my awakening. It was my passion is to pay back and just pay it forward to my population and my community. So I got my master's at 60, I think. Yeah, 60. And I got to hang out with all the fun 20-year-olds, and they were so cool, and they all accepted me, and it was really, really cool. And then now I work strictly with the trans population, mostly kids, mostly teenagers, and I just hope my goal is to make it easier for them in life. So this is because I finally accepted and loved myself. And this is what I want everyone to take away. If you're going to take anything away from today, is find yourself, learn to love yourself, and you'll be amazing how powerful that can be. So, okay, so that's my gender journey, and I just wanted to share it all with you. So thank you. Oh, thank you. Thank you. That means a lot. Thank you so much. Well, we have more, but we can take questions. Yeah, no, we can take questions. I love it. No, I don't want to talk. I mean, do you want to hear a little more, or do you want to go to questions?
Hear more.
All right. Because, oh my gosh, I could talk all day. I just want to go really quickly. Gender affirming care. All right, we know hormones, all right? We know there's surgical transition, and there's social transition. I just want to concentrate on social transition, because here I want to get into some of the myths, because this is important. When we hear gender-affirming care, social transition, basically it's just, say it's a child, a young or a teenager or whoever. It's just letting them, it's using their pronouns, it's using their name they want to use. It's letting them how they dress. It's letting them grow their hair long or cut their hair short. That's gender affirming care, social transition. And the best thing about that is there's no chemicals, there's no surgeries, it's just there's nothing that's irreversible, and most importantly, I always tell parents who are scared, and I don't blame them, this is very scary stuff, why don't you monitor their mood? Monitor their mood, let them present the way they want to, and all of a sudden, maybe you'll see all the acting out go away, maybe you'll see all the anger issues kind of diminish a little bit. And they might be happier, and they may even smile a little more. And I say all that because it's based on the years I've been working with parents and trans kids. That's what happens. Nobody is ever forced or talked into being a trans person. And by the way, all these major organizations support, even regardless. I used to stay away from politics, but politics brought into this. So regardless of political, what you hear, these are major organizations that support gender-affirming care. It's been medically proven and mental health proven. This is life-saving medicine. Pronouns, I'm going to just say really quickly, pronouns are everything. If someone respect their pronouns. Like my pronouns are she, her. Especially, I know a lot of non-binary folks and genderqueer folks who want to use they, them. And I know they, them is hard to get used to, but learn it. And if you have trouble with they, them, then just use their name. But really, really important, pronouns are so important to respect and use. And I've noticed using pronouns is better than any CBT, DBT, antidepressant, anti-anxiety medicine that I has prescribed or that I use. So that's how important pronouns are. And I just said the they, thems. It's a real thing. Takes a little practice. And if you don't use right pronouns, it really hurts for a long time. As I was saying earlier, compromises people's safety today. You don't want to out someone today. It's dangerous out there. It could be very, very dangerous. And it definitely gaslights depression, anxiety, and suicidal ideation. So pronouns are so important. Pronouns are everything. They're really that important. Our most vulnerable, this is why I work with this population, our most vulnerable population is our youth. Can you imagine, what it's like to be a trans young person now? Watching social media, the world, what politicians are saying, the laws they're creating. I went from giving, I still do, but trying to build kids up to just trying to keep them alive. Because the world is handing them hopelessness all the time. But as far as anybody, I will fight to the end for my kiddos that I work with and continue to give them hope. But I have to mop up the mess that these politicians are making. I see, they don't sit in the room and they don't hear what's going on. I do, and it makes me angry, and it breaks my heart. But every day I show up for work, and I'll be damned if I will do whatever I can to keep them going. But when you're in the field, I'm only a human being, and I put on a brave face, but I go home sometimes, and I cry. Or I call up Deb. I said, Deb, I had another really hard day, and then I just reset the next day, and I go to work, and I put on my brave face, and we're gonna get through this. We're gonna get through this someday. But that's the reality of what's going on. Really quick myths. There are no surgeries before puberty. No kids are going to school, having a sex change, as someone says, and coming home a different gender. But people believe this. People believe this. There are no hormones before puberty begins. We're not giving anyone taking hormones, puberty blockers, let's say. Nothing starts before they begin puberty. Doctors wait for them to begin puberty, then puberty blockers were being distributed. No, estrogen and testosterone, that's a little later on. But right now, it's important to understand, no kids are receiving hormones. Now, here's the thing that pisses me off. Sorry. So Yale, Hartford Healthcare, all the major institutions stop gender-affirming care for 19 and under. There are a few institutions like Anchor Health, which is an amazing, amazing place, continues it. Here's the funny thing. So if a 7-year-old is diagnosed with precocious puberty is when someone assigned female at birth will get their period at 7 years old and they want to halt it. They're allowed to give that child puberty blockers. But if we have 11-year-old who's starting puberty because they're trans and want to start puberty blockers, they can't. So if that's not discrimination, I don't know what it is. So it's not the medicine they say is dangerous. It's just what people don't feel comfortable with. All I know is I've seen kids with puberty blockers when they started them, and it was life-saving. Again, They became happy. They started doing better in school. They started going to school regularly. They made friends. So life-saving stuff. So I always want to just say that. Surgeries are usually 18 and older, especially like bottom surgeries. There is some top surgeries that are done a little younger, but it's not without letters, and it's not without physicians' letters and mental health letters. It's just not done with no it's just not done because we want to do it in one day. I already said puberty blockers are life-saving. Gender clinics support and do not push decisions, and supporting children and teens is not abuse with that. Gender dysphoria this is how we feel. Gender dysphoria is very, very hard when you see one thing in the mirror and you feel something. I asked a couple of young teenagers, to draw what gender dysphoria looks like. And this was my first one here. This was from a 14-year-old non-binary person. And 14, this is how they're feeling. It breaks my heart. And then I asked a 13-year-old. And this is what's going on in life. People are really struggling inside feeling this way. So, and that's from some kiddos. I'm going to just move on. You know, you've heard all these, this is just a phase, they're too young to know, social pressure, it's not safe. It's not safe not to address gender dysphoria. And I tell parents, don't become your child's first bully, become their first ally. They can't do this without you. Kids cannot do this without you. Anyway, evidence, 40 to 60% either attempt or die by suicide. And this scares the heck out of me because this is the population I'm working with, and this is why I lose sleep at nights. And these are studies. I'm not making this up. This is not my opinion. These are studies done at Yale, everywhere. So that's alarming. That is alarming. All right, I'm going to start wrapping it up a little bit because I know it's been a long day. I put this up understanding what it's like to be a trans person. Well, I was supposed to say 2026. Oh, I didn't update it. So we worry about being clocked before, but now it's really scary and dangerous if we're discovered. Misgendered and dead name really hurts a lot. Bathrooms, like we could talk a whole talk just about bathrooms. I promise you have nothing to worry about in bathrooms if you should clock a trans person, trust me. We're dealing with a lot of verbal abuse, physical abuse, coming out now. So many folks are afraid to come out. Social media is out of control. A lot of family conflict has really arisen over the years. We lost a lot of our basic human rights. And the newest one I just added, this was now apparently ICE is going to start targeting trans people. Yep. So anyway, I was targeted. I spoke at a library a few months ago in Deep River. And the night before my talk, somebody threw these flyers out, hundreds of them all over town, even by school bus, school stops, stuff like that. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, yes. So it says, oppose this disgusting child predator, April 2nd, 2025, Deep River, and then it's my talk. Mark, which isn't even my dead name, Jillian Celentano, and they spelt my name wrong too. This unstoppable creature preys on children, recruiting for his perverse fetishes. Keep children away. And so this is what I woke up to that day, going to talk. And they told me, the library said, we want to cancel. And I was like, heck no. Nope. I want to do this. And there was, all the news was there, Channel 3, Channel 8, Channel 4, all the local news was there. A lot of people came to support me. There was like about 50 people in support of trans folks and queer folks. Not one protester was there. And police, there was 3 state troopers. They had to sweep the library for bombs and close the library during my talk. I'm like, am I really worth that? Come on. So it was absolutely ridiculous. And when I questioned it to the police, they said, oh, First Amendment right. So I wasn't about getting to all that. But it was, I'm an advocate. I expect it. But it's kind of a scary world out there. So and religion in the queer community. I mean, I hate that how much a lot of religious groups are just weaponizing it. I don't understand. I mean, it's about accepting everyone, you know? And religion, I grew up a Catholic, and I thought I was living in sin every day of my life. You know, what I was taught, especially in the earlier, you know, back in the 70s and 80s. And it was hard. I kind of abandoned my religion for a while because I felt it was betraying me, you know? But then I didn't like not having religion in my life, so I kind of transitioned my religion along with myself and, you know, found where I can be at peace with my religion and my beliefs. But, and there's a lot of good folks out there. You know, my boss where I work, she's a Christian, and she only works with the trans community, and she's wonderful. And there's so many people out there. So, you know, I would love to see more of this come together. Especially in the trans community, and a church like this is like, I'm so comfortable to be here. I love your flag out front, you know, and so it's so nice, warm, and welcoming, and it just feels really good inside. So I just wanted to mention that little bit. And just about the end, us old folks. Any Monty Python fans in here? Yes, okay. Yeah. So we're not dead yet, okay? We're just beginning our lives. Like, I just started living my life about 10 years ago, and I can't do enough. I'm doing more. I do more than I can handle, and I have no time, right? Right, Claire? When we try to hold each other, it's like months and months before we can get together. So I am out there. All because I'm older doesn't mean I'm dead yet. I have a lot of life to live. Gender joy, I want to end it on some good stuff. Just being affirming. We need allies. We need allies so badly. You know, just listen to us. Just respect pronouns. You know, when they have protests or something, maybe show up if you feel safe. But I know a lot of people don't feel safe right now. But just being there and listening is so important as an ally. Pins are always fun. I mean, I use that more for doctors and mental health folks. Like, if you wear a little pin when you come in and see a patient, you're going to make us feel really, really comfortable. Again, evidence shows support makes all the difference to the trans community. Superpowers. I'm not gonna read all these, but when I work with teens, I talk about their superpowers and what they have. So, because we're like running long, is it okay? I'll just go through all this. But I love this one. My last one is transparency. Once you disclose you're trans to somebody, you know exactly who they are. So it's like having X-ray vision. So anyway, I like that one. So this is my superpower when I graduated. Like, graduating was something I never thought I could do. And that's my mom. I lost her in July of last year. She was such a big supporter. You know, she was 92, and she never once stopped loving me. She never once questioned it. The only thing she said was that, I'm so sorry, I didn't know this, and you suffered all those years. So that was hard. That was hard. But she was my biggest supporter, and that's my superpower. Yeah, my shameless plug. I wrote a book, as you said. So community strength's important. And I love this quote by the Trevor Project: having at least one accepting adult can reduce the risks of a suicide attempt among the LGBT young people by 40%. So you could be that one who saves that person. I'm going to end it with this quote by Dan Savage. This was during the AIDS time, and I thought this kind of applies today. During the darkest days of the AIDS crisis, we buried our friends in the morning, we protested in the afternoon, and we danced all night. The dance kept us in the fight because it was the dance we were fighting for. It didn't look like we were going to win, then we did. It doesn't feel like we're going to win now, but we could. Keep fighting, keep dancing. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks, Jill, for a very informative and inspiring presentation. Really appreciate it. We have time for questions now. I have a mic, so if you raise your hand, I will come running over to you. Please hold your question until you get the mic so everybody can hear it.
And you can ask me anything.
I just want to thank you for giving your talk. My name is Kevin. I'm concerned about trans young people. My question to you is there any hard scientific evidence that says if we can get this kid to a certain age alive, the incidence of suicide goes down? Like, is there a magic age you can get them to and then they're safe?
There's no magic age, but I will say that the studies, and these are scientific studies and peer-reviewed studies, show that with kids, regarding kids, if they receive their gender-affirming care like puberty blockers or start before puberty, it makes a significant difference in their happiness and survival. And suicidal ideations go way down. And that includes, puberty blockers or hormones. So that's the scientific study. But when nothing is done, and you try to, let them, wait till you're 18, then you can make your own decisions, the suicide rate goes, the chances go up significantly.
Okay.
And again, not my opinion, that's just, facts. I should talk to microphones.
I'll let you do all the walking, I'll just sit here. What do you say to it's probably politicians, but folks who cite either kids or young adults who have attempted to transition, who may have taken hormones, and then decide that, oops, this is a mistake, and stop and speak very loudly about what a mistake it was and this shouldn't happen at this age and whatever. That's quoted so often as being the reason why this whole process should not occur. What's your response to that?
Great question. So we're referring to, like, as we call it, detransitioning. Someone felt they made a mistake, and So my answer to that is, first of all, and again, you can look this up, the percentage of someone changing their mind, realizing they did wrong, is so minute when they regret, the regret part. So about 1% of folks change their mind or detransition, okay? Follow me on this now. Of that 1%, 2% have actual regret, okay? So it's probably a handful. The other 80% who this happens to is they're forced to transition. Say, I'm going to kick you out of the house if you're going to do this. Or they have a bad reaction to medication. Or they're going to lose their job. Or, things like that. So so those numbers are skewed a lot. But the very handful, of course, nothing is 100%. And, some people who have made decisions like, mostly are okay, but the ones who speak out against it, I welcome it. It's good. Like, let everyone know this is a big decision. So that's how I answer it. It's such a minute number, but the ones who do, I think it's important to also say your opinion. But because of that very small percentage, the 99.5% that are happy with it, let's not forget about it. But again, nothing is 100%. But that's a great question, and I hear that a lot. Thank you.
Hi, you said that pronouns are very important, and I understand that. But if you're meeting somebody out, working with them, and they're presenting, you just met them, but you can see that maybe they're transitioning. Mm-hmm. Is it okay to ask them what pronouns they go by?
So my answer to that, and this is, again, not everyone is going to agree with me, 100% yes. I tell folks, if you are unsure, I think it's more respect to ask someone, say, I want to respect your pronouns. What are your pronouns? Or what pronouns you use? I think it's fine. I think it's fine because if you are not sure, I think it's an important question to ask. I'd rather you ask me than guess. So to me, but there are some folks who don't agree. But I think the majority of us, at least in the population and all the folks that I know, would rather be asked. So, yep. And of course, now the one person you asked will probably yell at you. So just tell them to yell at me. That's my fault. I'm going to take the responsibility.
I went on a tear on my Facebook page about regret, and I came up with 1%, but the best answer I got under it was, well, 30% people regret the knee replacement surgery they've had, so we should ban that for the sake of the children.
I love that you brought that up. I forgot about that. Yeah, there's a higher percent of regret with knee surgeries, hip surgeries, rhinoplasties, like all those other ones. There's higher regret than transitioning. I love that you brought that up. Thank you. And you can look that up. I just want to make sure everyone knows it's not my opinion. It's just working with doctors and mental health folks and all the studies that, I go by. But thank you for that. So, we good? All right. Well, we good?
Any more questions before we thank Jill once again for her presentation today? Okay,
Sure.
great.
Oh, one quick one. Sure.
Oh, sorry.
I'll bring my mic over.
Yeah, so I wondered if it's common for, oh gosh, this is awful. What? Oh.
There you go.
I wondered if it's, how common it is for children to maybe go waffle back and forth, like maybe they're not sure, but they feel like a girl, this month or.
Another great question. So a lot of kids do that. A lot of younger folks will say, I feel, say someone who's assigned male at birth, I feel like I'm a girl. And they'll start it, and then they'll be like, you know what, maybe not. I think maybe I'm non-binary. So then they'll want to say from she, then they'll want to be called they. Then they're like, no, I think I feel more male. No, I think I'm more, this is exploration. This is part of the journey. And it's not that they're confused. They're just trying to trying to see what fits for them. So a lot of folks will go back and forth on pronouns. We'll go a lot of name changes. They'll probably change their name a lot, and that's why don't do anything legal. That's one thing I hold off to you're for sure. You're really sure about, but it's not. It's very part of the journey to go back and forth, kind of flutter back and forth, and then. But I promise these kiddos will land where they are. They'll land when they're, finally feel they're being comfortable with it. But letting them explore is part of it. It's part of the journey. It's perfectly normal. And again, support it. But don't be afraid by it, because a lot of my kids have done that, and all of them have figured it out as of now. So that's normal. Thanks. That was a good question. I forgot about that. Okay. Well. Thank you so much. I appreciate this.
And thank you, Jill. And I'd like to invite everybody back for a reception in the parlor, which is straight up this door over here. And you'll, what? And that way a little. And you'll have a chance to ask Jill questions at that point, too. So thanks again so much, Jill.